Hello everyone, my name is Sarper Çelenk. I'm co-founder of InnoSounds. InnoSounds is a community of startup founders, subject matter experts, and investors. So today we are going to host a live webinar about hospitality, and we are having an amazing guest, Debbie Hawkins. I think Debbie is a guru in the industry. She has enormous experience having a finance background, and she also handled a few huge IT projects. I think she has some legacy in the strip in Las Vegas. So, we are focusing on a few verticals as InnoSounds, and hospitality. Travel and hospitality is one of those. So today I'm super excited to have you as our guest, Debbie. Please introduce yourself to our community and share your experience. And I think you brought some exciting topics to share with us. So the stage is yours.
Well, thank you for that kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. This is my first time doing a live webinar, so I'm pretty excited about doing this and excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, great.
So I do have a bit of a unique background, primarily in the gaming and hospitality arena. But I did start my life as a CPA, and I think one of the unique things that I bring to the table is that from that sort of humble beginning, or very narrowly focused vertical, if you will, I've gotten some really unique experiences and seen business from a lot of different perspectives. So one of my favorite quotes that I heard is that the view from the edges is very different from the view of the middle. And so I think I've been at the edge of a lot of different perspectives, starting as a CPA, then a variety of finance roles at Harrah's, and then eventually some IT responsibilities for Circus Circus, project development. For new projects around the world, I had the opportunity to work with Kerry Packer and a very talented team in Australia, one of my favorite places in the world to go, on a bid for a casino over there, as well as a lot of smaller operations. And then finally, because of some of the IT experience that I had and what I'd call reinstalling to optimize software that maybe initially hadn't been installed in the most efficient way for that business, I became the Senior VP of Hospitality Sales for Infor. I correct that, I shouldn't say Senior VP. I was Senior VP of Development for Circus Circus, but VP of Sales for Hospitality for Infor, where I got to start their first vertically focused software sales team that was just focused on one industry. So we developed a lot of industry-specific models that really caused us to gain a large market share and following in the gaming and hospitality market. So deep breath after all that.
Oh yeah. You need that. I mean, if I have the same experience, I need to take some long breath. So yeah, thanks for letting us know about your background. Yeah.
So let me tell you kind of some of my observations from those different views. And I think the first one that struck me when I first left public accounting and went to Harrah's was just how different it is to be inside a business than external auditors or financial statements for them. And I think the first thing that hit me was how important internal information is to provide to managers who really need to run that business and have operational information. So that was very, very eye-opening, just to be able to think about it very differently from the world I'd had in public accounting. Then as I began to work for different companies, my first experience with Harrah's was a really great one. I got a lot to do a lot of different things. I call it the wild, wild west of gaming. So a lot of what we do today hadn't been invented yet. So I got to be around during the invention and maybe play my own part in that. Oh, yeah. So Harrah's had a very specific strategy. And that was great because, that gave me a path to follow. But as I started to work for other companies, I realized that they all, while it was somewhat the same, they all did it differently. And their path to success was very different. So one company might have one strategy and another one would be completely different, but they could both be very successful.
What was the part of MGM at that time?
No, it wasn't. This was when Circus Circus was standalone on its own in its own public company.
Okay.
So yeah. So
that they have each different strategies, not following each other?
Well, very different strategies. So I'll tell you, for instance, at Harrah's at the time, they decided that they were going to be distributors of gaming operations across the country, because this was before gaming was everywhere. It was primarily just in Nevada and Atlantic City.
Oh, yeah.
So Harrah's was the one that pioneered the total rewards and a lot of customer data and analytics, focus on employees, customer information, and distribution of their gaming properties across the country. And you'll still see the remnants of that is still in place today.
Right.
And then when I went to Circus, I realized, we had a joke about Harrah's in those days, and I'm not talking badly at all, but people have heard this before. So we used to call it the company of paralysis by analysis, because we looked at everything very deeply. And then when I got to Circus, which had been really run by the talent of the founder, Bill Bennett, they just made decisions very quickly. And my thought was, don't you want a little bit of data before you just shoot the gun? So, but both companies were extremely successful. So that's when I started to realize. Good intuitions then. Yeah, there's not just one method that makes it correct.
Good.
So, yeah. So just sort of to add to that, as I moved around and had different roles, what I started to do for myself in order to, as an executive, you want to come in and you want to be able to make an impact right away. But the question became, well, how do I do that? And frequently, if you go to work for a company, a lot of them, if you say, well, tell me what your strategy is, nobody knows. They can't articulate it.
Yeah, just a special note about tech. I mean, I eventually want to jump into tech. How about the tech scene at that time in Las Vegas, the strip casinos and hotels?
Well, thank you for backing up. I think that's a great question. I would say it's changed a lot, and in some ways it hasn't changed a lot. Okay, so let me just talk about sort of the wonderful thing about gaming and hospitality, and what attracted me to it was it is the most complex business model I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Okay, so you have all this complexity. There have been some large companies that have over 400 different software applications they run to manage all of this. And so yes, the technology is very complicated. And the thing that makes it so unique is because it's a complex model, we can't just go buy, for instance, one ERP system that's going to do everything like other companies can, right? So we are always in the business of integration, trying to fit together all these overlapping pieces of technology to make them work for this industry that was really underserved by the technology industry in general. You had specific gaming vendors, and then a few vendors who by accident almost got into being the leaders with back office in the industry.
I think we'll get there, but a quick question. How do you find it now? Do you think it is well served or still being underserved?
I would say it's better served.
Okay.
Just better served. I don't think the underlying requirements for piecing everything together and interfaces has really gone away, because there was one company that I know Melissa, who's listening, knows well, who tried to do that, but then the obstacle became trying to replace everything at once was really an impossible chore. So the fact that it is piecemealed is sort of good and bad, because you can evolve in steps and not with one big bang to do everything, which would be very hard.
I see. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying.
Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.